All of the things that have happened during the DNC convention, and I've been watching it all, and it has been quite a hoot. Protests that have happened during the DNC convention. I want to start with this video here outside of the Hilton Hotel, where apparently a lot of those DNC delegates were staying. So they were trying to keep them awake. And this is what I'm talking about, folks. They said, "You are not getting any sleep tonight." And again, this is outside of the Hilton Hotel where the delegates were staying. And I kind of feel the same way. Again, like, you should not get any sleep. You should have to answer for your decisions. A very heavy police presence in Chicago. If you have not been aware, from what I saw from the video footage, it looked like they lined up every police officer that they have in Chicago. Look at that. They have these bikes with the glow in the dark lights, the little reflectors here. Yeah, so these people are straight up G's. Like, that's what I call just straight up G's, because they know exactly where to go. They said, "Oh, where are the delegates staying? Which hotel? Let me find out and let me show up." Now, I want to take you to a clip here from Democracy Now! Interviewed one of the protesters. This young woman here, I'm not sure if you're familiar. I've followed her on Twitter. She was the one that posted, "Wait till you get to Chicago," because remember, I told you Chicago has the largest Palestinian American population in the United States. She was the one that posted that. And apparently she also posted that she received some phone call or something from the FBI. It's crazy. But I want you to hear what she had to say. Of course, she was at one of the protests here. This is near the Trump Tower.
Palestinian Americans, this is a fundamental issue. And we have spent 10 months watching our people die every day. To ask us to simply come out and just wait and hope that some change will happen before the election, it's just offensive, and it's completely insensitive to where we are as a community.
I agree with her 100%. It's really sad for the people who do, especially they still have family members, or they had family members that were in Gaza, and them just watching on the news every day, watching their people die, watching lifelines are just completely, family lines completely destroyed. She's 100% there. And I want to show you as well another protest that happened earlier in the day. This is my comrade Rome and Nick from Revolutionary Blackout Network. They were doing the damn thing. So this is Nick Cruz here in the gray shirt. And they're basically like, while they were there, which I really appreciate, because it's not just about showing up and marching. While they were there, they were teaching people. So you're going to hear Nick tell people, these protesters here, and I think one of them is press. Yeah, one of them is press. Watch Nick tell them what we really need to be focusing on and why we need to organize on the ground. Listen to this.
And then you don't have to even preach to them. You can explain that this system is broken. We need to reject individualism and we need to come together as a community. And people want that message. Americans want that message of people coming together and building community. Because once you start for them, they realize the ruling class is not coming for them. Then we can form a real resistance movement. This is
So what Nick is saying, that the woman in the background is kind of loud, but what Nick is saying is that we need to reject individualism and we need to come together as a community and organize as a community. And again, he's speaking to the press. There was another video that I saw where Rome was talking to Jacobin. It'll be interesting to see if Jacobin airs what he said, or if they document what he said in their article. But he was talking to them the same way, like, you need to organize. It's all about community. It's not about the individual.
Something that the left in the United States have neglected. They want to go through the Democratic Party. They want to go through absolute measures to create change, and they haven't done it well. We need to take responsibility. I'm not a liberal. I believe that we need to take personal responsibility. I mean, we must organize ourselves, educate ourselves, and demand for change. So that's what we're working on doing.
Right. So he said that we need to educate ourselves and we need to organize ourselves. And it's true, it's unfortunate, but a lot of people, especially in the activism community, as someone who, we're all activists. So as someone who is an activist, it's very apparent to me over the years that in the activism community, a lot of times, even though we are organizing on the ground, oftentimes you'll find these organizations that say we need to come together and uplift each other and help people in the community. But at the same time, it's like a lot of times those organizations feel the solution is just to vote in the Democratic Party in the end. And that's not what we're about over at RBN. We've already done that. We've already been there. Nick canvassed for Bernie Sanders. He went to South Carolina speaking to people in barbershops, canvassing for Bernie Sanders. Rome canvassed for Bernie Sanders twice, 2 election cycles in a row. So like we've done that. Right? We've done that and we see where it kind of got us, right? So what we've learned is that, particularly on the national level, there are so many structures that are in place that prevent any real change from happening on the national level on the political stage. Whitney Webb and I talked about this earlier, right? We talked about how what you really have to do is you have to organize locally within your communities and build dual power. That's where you're going to see a lot of that transformational change. But on the national level, especially knowing that a lot of these politicians, they're already in bed with the Israeli lobby, they're already in bed with Wall Street and the military industrial complex. Once you know how the structure is set up, and Whitney Webb went really deep into that earlier today, just how it is organized, then you realize that the only way you're going to have transformational change on the national level is if you break the structures that are in place. And so we haven't gotten to that point where we've been able to break those structures. This is why Justice Democrats failed. It's not so much that it was a bad idea, so to speak. In theory, it sounded like a great idea. But what happened is that you took those politicians and put them into the Democratic Party, and they were supposed to change the Democratic Party. But the reality is the structures that are in place prevent them from doing that. And if they are to do that, they're removed. That's why you see Jamal Bowman, they got rid of him. They got rid of Cori Bush. And they've done this to Cynthia McKinney. They've done this to Dennis Kucinich. Anybody who really tries to do any type of transformational change, they find a way to get rid of them. So we have to acknowledge that. Now I want to show you abandon Harris now, not abandon Biden. They're also protesting and speaking. And shout out to Shama Sawant. And this gentleman here, he said, I'm a lifetime Democrat who's abandoning Harris. I cannot support genocide, the slaughter of the Palestinian people. As a father and a grandfather, I can't watch anymore. The suffering has to stop. And you'll see the picture here. That was his quote. There's Jill Stein behind him there. There's Claudia de la Cruz back here to his right. She's also running for president. She's running through PSL, the Party for Socialism and Liberation. And so this is a big difference between the Abandon Harris movement and the Uncommitted campaign. The Uncommitted campaign, unfortunately, the co-founders of that movement apparently endorsed Kamala Harris. They're going to support Kamala Harris. Their goal at the DNC is to convince her to implement an arms embargo, which I'm just going to be honest with you guys. Whitney laid it all out earlier today. That is not going to happen again because of the structures that are in place. So we always have to go back to that, right? So they're essentially endorsing and supporting someone that's not going to make that happen. And not everyone in the uncommitted campaign feels that way. But unfortunately, they're speaking for the masses there. I'll go to him in a second. Eric, I want to finish this part first so it doesn't mess up the clips. And then we'll go to Nick. Okay. And then there was the Party for Socialism and Liberation also protesting. And I want you to notice something here. Look at these signs. Of course, you see Netanyahu's head, but now you see Kamala Harris's head. From Africa to Palestine, oppose war and genocide. Listen to this.
Palestine will be free. And from the sea to the river. From the sea to the river. Palestine will live forever. Palestine will live forever. Palestine will live forever. Palestine will live forever.
Yeah, so this is a change because Kamala Harris, you are not immune to this. You are a part of that administration. That's the other thing. It would have been different if she wasn't a part of the current administration, but she is. So some of the activist groups are seeing through this. They're like, nah, bruh, you're lying. You're saying something to one people in private, and then publicly your campaign is saying that you do not support an arms embargo. And then something else crazy happened here, folks. Some of the protesters broke through the fence. There was a fence outside of the DNC venue. And you can see here where they start to take this fence down. The protesters said, no, 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 no. You're going to hear us. Yeah, so they made it through. It's really interesting. When I saw this fence, I was like, that's the fence that's supposed to keep people out. No way. I'm like, get out of here, man. I don't know who built that, but what were you thinking? And then you'll also see here is another march. Shout out to Breakthrough News. They're also on the scene. Just about everybody in indie media that you can think of is there. But they said a mass march for Gaza broke through the security barrier outside the DNC. You'll see here's another look at that here.
So as you can see, the protesters have just broken the security barrier outside the DNC. They're hopping the fence. There's another barrier, different type of barrier on the other side. And there's a line of cops. And as you can see above, the police are watching. They have a police helicopter. So they're keeping a close eye on the protests. But, you know, people are obviously angry. I'm not sure they'll get close, but we're going to stick with this and see what happens. But this is, you know, obviously the DNC was afraid of the protests getting too close, reaching delegates, you know, shaming them and sort of telling them that they're supporting a genocidal candidate. And that's exactly what these protesters are trying to do. They're saying that the people inside are the war criminals. They're supporting a war criminal, that they should be allowed to do this. It's their right to protest, and that they shouldn't be treated like criminals for protesting this genocide.
100%. I mean, they act like this is a little deal here. It's a big deal. Genocide is a big deal. Now let's go inside of the convention, because there were protests that happened inside as well. Pay close attention to this one, folks. You have to look closely. Audience members at the DNC in Chicago unfurl banner that says "Stop Arming Israel." After the audience sees the banner, they begin chanting "We love Joe." And a man tries to rip the banner away. I'm going to direct you in that view here so you can see where that guy appears. Watch this. Okay, you want to direct your attention right here where you see this white banner that's starting to appear. And there's a man standing here wearing a suit. Watch him.
Impossibility. We're in the grip of a once-in-a-century pandemic. Historic joblessness.
So do you see that? He rips the banner out of their hand.
Calls for racial justice long overdue. Free the convention on variable democracy.
Now, that was during Joe Biden's speech. And of course, they would hold that up while he's speaking because this blood is on his hands. So it makes perfect sense. I don't know who the heck that guy thought he was to just pull a banner away. That is their right to protest. And honestly, Joe Biden needs to answer to the crimes that he has committed. That's just how I see it. They're trying to protect you. It's kind of like a cult. I feel like these parties are like a cult. It's just really weird. It's like they're willing to do anything to protect these politicians and they don't want to hold them accountable. There was another one here. Like I said, we have a lot of these clips. Pro-Palestine protesters have disrupted the DNC and delegate welcome party. Now, this is the one that I think went viral on Twitter. This was the welcome event inside the DNC and a lone protester takes the stage.
Y'all can do better than that. Mike DeMoney!
150,000 people are dead! You are funding a genocide! The Harris-Biden administration keeps funding money to Israel!
And I have to say, I'm really impressed because she ran up on that stage like she was running from the police. Watch. You see how she got up there? So I'm telling you, if the police are ever coming after her, she got her escape plan. She has her escape plan. But yeah, and I don't blame her. Again, don't blame it. You need to hear from these people. You need to hear from these people. They have all the bougie people in town, the Clintonites, the Obamas, all of these people that are just really bougie. I heard the talking points last night. I heard it from AOC. I heard it from Jasmine. All these people are just, they're all a part of that elite DNC bubble, and they don't want to have to answer to the people. Another protest that happened inside was Code Pink. Medea Benjamin. They disrupted Tim Walz at the DNC Women's Caucus because he was talking about women's rights. So they wanted him to know that all these women that have been killed in Gaza, guess what, Tim? That is a women rights issue. Code Pink disrupts Tim Walz. Watch this.
Stop killing women! Stop killing women!
It was a big crowd. Supporters signed. And
Stop killing women in Gaza! Stop killing women in Gaza! Stop killing women in Gaza! Stop killing women in Gaza!
Notice what's happening here. Now they're having this event about protecting women and women's rights, right? And Code Pink is saying, stop killing these women in Gaza. And the crowd starts to chant USA. You know what that tells you? That again is them focusing on individualism. They only care about women here in the United States. They don't care about women anywhere else. And I'd argue they probably don't really care about women in the US that well either. That's just, again, another campaign tactic to get people to come out and support this election. So it just goes to show you this sense of selfishness that we do have here in the United States. It's like it's only about what's happening with here, right? But then you add Israel to the equation and they are willing to die for Israel and protect them as well. It's a revealing moment when they say they care about all women because they don't. They don't care about those women that have been killed in Palestine, all those women that have lost their children, including pregnant women.
Do we not care about a genocide? Everybody's standing in there like nothing happened and talking about women's issues. What about the women in Gaza who can't give birth or having C-sections with no babies? Our babies are being murdered by bombs made in the United States of America.
No, they don't care about women in Gaza. I mean, we've talked about this before. They don't care about black women here. You think they care about Palestinian women in Gaza? Nope. Nancy Pelosi also was confronted at the DNC convention. Check this one out again. Shout out to Breakthrough News. There is Nancy Pelosi trying to take pictures with people, but doesn't want to answer to the protesters.
Nancy Pelosi, what do you have to say about all of the women in Gaza who have been murdered? What do you have to say about all of the children? We need an arms embargo now. Nancy Pelosi, will you support an arms embargo to protect the women and the children in Gaza?
You know what kills me about this? You have a black woman right here, just excited and ready to take a picture with Nancy Pelosi, ignoring everything that's happening around her, ignoring the protest that's happening towards Nancy Pelosi. And they're talking about what's happening to Palestinians in Gaza. And what kills me about her taking this picture with Nancy Pelosi is this. She actually thinks that Nancy Pelosi gives a damn. And she doesn't. None of these people care about you. What has Nancy Pelosi done? Let's think about this for a second. Why do you want to take a picture with this woman? What has Nancy Pelosi done during her political career for the black community? I'll wait. What has she done? Why are you lining up to take pictures with this woman? This entitled, elitist, selfish woman who, by the way, I don't see Nancy Pelosi signing on to any type of legislation that would help increase black wealth in this country. Why you want to line up to take pictures with this woman? This is how delusional we have become as a society.
Thousands of women and children. Nancy Pelosi. The Democrats have been funding this. But the Democrats have been funding the genocide of Palestinian people.
And Nancy Pelosi runs away, right? You have to stop making these people celebrities. And this is something that I think you need to hear as well. The Democratic Party released their 2024 platform, and this is also being discussed at the DNC convention. And Ryan Grimm called this out yesterday. Apparently, Breaking Points is also in location in Chicago. He called this out yesterday. There is something very specific in that DNC platform about Israel and Gaza, and you guys need to hear this. This is why I say the uncommitted movement, it's a lot of Democrat shills. And I think their whole goal in the beginning anyway was just to get Joe Biden to drop out and have someone else run in his place. I think, and I called it from the beginning, I believed that they had every intention to continue to support the Democrats in the general. That's why it didn't make sense for me when they said just uncommitted through the primary. That was a big red flag that, oh, so they're going to support the Democratic Party in the general. Listen to this. The DNC platform for 2024. So
the platform was released today.
Yes.
You can find it on my Twitter feed. I have a link to it there. Starts on the Israel-Palestine part starts on page 83, and it reads as if AIPAC wrote it.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
This part that jumped out at me here, they have a one-sided condemnation of conflict-related sexual violence aimed only at Hamas, which is taking now this, like it was done a couple weeks ago, but still it's now being published in the context of the Knesset having an open debate about whether the acknowledged rape of Palestinian detainees is legally okay or not.
Right.
Not a
So do you guys hear this?
question whether it happened,
Right.
but whether it actually is okay and good that it was done. In that context, to only call out Hamas is a huge slap in the face. But separate from that, it just goes on and says that the Palestinians are the ones who don't care about a two-state solution. In the context of the Israeli government explicitly, legally, officially, repeatedly saying they do not support a two-state solution, the DNC platform says it's the Palestinians that are the obstacle to it.
That is 100%. I looked at it myself. Okay, that is the Democratic Party platform for 2024. Kamala Harris is signing off on this too. So when Kamala Harris tells you we need a ceasefire, and we need a two-state solution. The party platform is saying the opposite. The party platform is blaming everything on the Palestinian people. No mentioning, or not that I saw, no mentioning about the sexual abuse that is happening to Palestinians in the detention centers. None of that. All of that rhetoric under Israel, that Israel-Gaza section, they're blaming everything on the Palestinian people. This is why I told you guys, you cannot take these politicians at their word. Remember, they're campaigning. They're just trying to get people to come out and support the campaign. So you can't take them at their word. You have to look at their actions. And Democrat Party leadership has approved that rhetoric. So that is what Kamala Harris is going to go along with, because if she doesn't, they'll get rid of her too. That's how they work. We've seen it happen before. I recommend that everyone take a look at that. Everyone take a look. You can Google it. Democratic Party platform 2024. Take a look at it. It's very telling.